Bro, if you've been working out for a while and are not seeing any results in the gym, it's not your workout and it's not your diet. There's one thing that almost every beginner skips, and it's exactly why you're not seeing any progress. In this video, I'm going to show you what that is and how to fix it. You're likely making more progress than you think, but the mistake that you're likely making is going off of the results that you see on the day-to-day. And honestly, that's going to be minimum. Getting fit is slow and results take time. It doesn't happen from day to day or week to week. It takes months to actually see some meaningful progress in the gym. The problem is when you don't see results on the day-to-day, you start to lose faith in what you're actually doing and that it actually is working. Unless you're very careful, will result in you not putting in as much effort as you should be, and therefore see even less results. The solution to this is to track your progress. This way you can look back and see how much progress you've actually made over the months or the years. This not only is going to be motivating, but it's also going to help you make strategic changes if you're not seeing progress in the right areas, or if you're not seeing enough progress, which I'll talk about shortly. The first thing you need to be tracking is your body weight. I think it's safe to say the majority of people out there are either trying to gain weight or lose weight. And trying to do this without tracking your progress is honestly kind of pointless. For starters, you're never going to know if what you're doing is actually working. And secondly, you're going to have a hard time staying motivated if you don't see the progress over time. What I do and what I recommend doing is tracking your body weight every day. If you don't take your body weight every day, there's a lot of variables that make it fluctuate, and it's going to be harder to tell how much you're actually consistently losing or how much you're consistently gaining. I also track my calories and protein, as these things are going to be what actually moves the needle when it comes to weight loss or weight gain. I'm currently on a cut, and if I start losing strength, it's safe to say that I'm also losing some muscle. The solution to this would be to increase my protein or slow down my cut a little bit. If I notice that I'm not losing weight fast enough or losing weight too fast, then I can also adjust my calories in order to either speed up or slow down my cut. This is why it's essential to track both your inputs and your goal when it comes to losing weight.
Let me just talk one time. Whoa. 25 sitting on 25 racks. Just got started, no we ain't done yet. Bought a new crib, that's a goddamn flex. Sign that check, told him last year that I've been up next. Can't take calls, but I send that text from way downtown, but the shit's still wet. Yeah, that's a guarantee. King of the city, man, they knowing that it's me. Ain't damn near still doing it with ease, cause it ain't that hard when I'm talking about me. Me and my funds, told him I get what I want. I need my money up front, I do not do this for fun. So I've been here my whole life, I ain't seen him here once. Told him I ain't playing, they don't wanna get hurt, dog. It's about time I just shut them how it works.
Problem with the scale is that it doesn't tell the entire story of what's going on with your body. This is why I recommend taking progress photos. When you lift weights and put on muscle, you can be losing a lot more fat than you expect, but not noticing it based off of the scale because your weight isn't decreasing as much as you think it should. The next problem is you're not going to look any different on the day-to-day. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow morning the exact same that I look tonight. And if you go off of that, you're never going to think you're making progress. However, if you take progress photos, you look back a month, 2 months, even a year, and you can see how far you've actually come. For instance, the past 2 years, I've done a cut starting in like January. Last year, I got down to 163 pounds and I could see the top 4 abs of my six pack. This year though, I was looking the exact same around 173 pounds, which means that I put on 10 pounds of muscle in this past year. I was only able to determine this because I took these progress photos and I was able to compare them side by side on how I looked last year at 163 pounds and how I looked this year at 173 pounds. Progress photos are also motivating. Like I said earlier, you don't see your progress on the day-to-day, but when you see the changes from your progress photos, you're actually able to tell what you're doing is working. So that way you can double down on it and be motivated to continue doing it. If you ever aren't looking any different, then you know that something needs to change, either with your diet or your training. I can guarantee if you're not making changes on the month to month, unless you're an advanced lifter, you're not dialed in on your training routine or your diet.
On a Saturday night, 2 shots in and she feeling just right. Call up her girlfriends, rush to the club, trying to squeeze them hips in a dress so tight. You love her, caught your eye, won't find another. Lips so soft and the skin like butter. Wanna take a look behind the covers, but hold up, you should know. Cause she don't want no man, she just came here to take your bath.
Before I get into the next point, I want to let you guys know about my free fitness accountability group on Discord. If you are new to fitness and are looking for some feedback, you can get it from me or other members in the group. We'd love to have you there. I'll drop the link for that down in the description of this video. When you first start lifting weights, it's not uncommon for you to increase the weight on a particular exercise by 5 pounds every single week that you go to the gym. However, as you progress and become an advanced lifter, this eventually goes away. Me personally, depending on the exercise, it might take a month for me to increase the weight. I still increase my reps, but I definitely have a harder time increasing the weight now than I did when I first started. It's important for you to track how much weight you're lifting in the gym. For starters, you need to be able to know how much weight you lifted each week in order to effectively incorporate progressive overload into your workouts. Keeping track of it also will allow you to see, although slow, that you're still making strength gains as you get more advanced. And the weight's not going up 5 pounds every week. You can still see your reps climb and the weight climb every couple weeks or so. If you don't track, you won't be able to see this weight go up. And honestly, you won't even be able to know if it is going up. And you could be in a plateau and not making any strength gains and not be able to improve it and fix it because you aren't tracking how much weight you're actually lifting. For instance, right now I'm on a cut and I got to keep a close eye on my strength. If I start losing my strength, then it's safe to say that I'm also losing some muscle. I want to avoid that. So keeping a close eye on my strength allows me to dial in my macros and tweak them as needed for this cut. Thankfully, my strength's actually going up. So what this tells me is, 1, my calories aren't too low. 2, I'm getting enough protein in order to maintain the muscle mass that I do have on and maybe even increase it a little bit. And this gives me a little bit of confidence because honestly, as I'm cutting, it's a little bit hard mentally because you are looking smaller. Your muscles aren't filled with glycogen and they look kind of flat. And without me tracking the strength, I would honestly be thinking that I'm losing some muscle right now. However, since I'm tracking my strength, I know that's not necessarily the case. If my strength were to go down, then I'd know, okay, I need to increase my protein. If my protein's already at 1 gram per pound, then maybe I'm cutting too fast and I need to slow down my cut. Or maybe I need to take a week off and refill my glycogen levels. Another benefit of this is taking progress photos is great, but it's kind of hard to tell if an individual body part is lagging behind. By tracking your strength gains, you can see the pattern of that particular muscle and see that you're not gaining any strength in that particular exercise, and either change up the exercise and see the strength gains again, or focus on bringing that muscle up by doing various techniques like drop sets or partial reps or stuff like that. So here's what I do to put all of this into practice. Every morning when I wake up, I weigh myself. I do this before I eat anything, but after using the bathroom. This way I get a consistent weight. I then track this weight in a spreadsheet. I also track my macros every day. I use Macro Factor to track all this. I then take my total calories for the day and then put it into the spreadsheet, the same spreadsheet that I put my body weight into. To track my strength and my workouts, I use an app. I would recommend this app. However, it's for personal trainers and it's kind of useless if you're not a personal trainer. So there are different apps out there that you can use, but just find one that works for you and one that you can see your history on of how much weight you're lifting. This way you can incorporate progressive overload. In order to incorporate progressive overload into my workouts, I have 3 phases, each of them lasting 4 weeks. So the first phase is 12 reps. The second phase is 8 reps, and the last phase is 6 reps. So whenever I hit the target rep range in that phase, I then increase the weight by 5 pounds. If I don't hit it on a particular exercise, say this week, my phase that I'm in is bench press, and my goal is to hit 145 pounds for 12 reps, and I only hit 11 reps, then next week I would try to hit 12 to 13 reps. The workout app I use also allows me to upload progress photos to it. So this is where I keep all my progress photos. I like it because I can compare them side by side and see different date ranges, how I looked to how I look now. Every time I need motivation, I go and look at these progress photos. If I notice my body weight stops moving, then I'll go into my macros and see how they've been looking lately. If I look at my body weight and the average across the week has not decreased at all, then I go and look at my macros. Usually my macros are off, and it's kind of like a kick in the pants to motivate me to do better at eating more aligned with my caloric goal. If it isn't off though, then what I do is decrease the amount of calories that I'm eating every day by 250. If my weight stops going up in the gym, then I look at my macros again. Usually my protein's been insufficient for a week or more. If that's the case, then it's a kick in the pants again to increase my protein. Or if my protein looks good, then I check my program. If I've been doing it for a while, I've likely plateaued following that workout routine and then need to switch things up in my routine a bit. This is why I think tracking is so important for anyone that's into fitness, as if you're not getting the outputs that you desire, it's likely because of the inputs not being correct. And all it takes is to notice the outputs not happening and then tweaking the inputs that make it happen. Fitness is really just math. If you're not losing weight or gaining weight, your calories are off. If you're not gaining muscle or you're losing strength, your protein intake is off or your training is off. And being able to track and see what you're doing over time allows you to make judgment calls and take corrective action as soon as you notice this happening. A person who doesn't track might take months to notice that they aren't losing any weight, but someone who's tracking all the time only takes them really about a week to notice that, hey, the scale hasn't moved. I need to dial in what I'm doing. Same with how much weight they can lift. Someone who only benches once a week will take months to notice that, hey, my bench hasn't really seemed to go up lately. But someone who tracks will notice that next week, hey, my bench has got something going on. And yeah, there's other factors like sleep and going out and drinking with your buddies that might screw up your bench for that week. So you might want to leave it another week, but you'll eventually notice the trend and then be able to take corrective action to fix the inputs that reflect that output. That all said, if you don't have the knowledge in fitness in order to know what needs critiquing, then you're not going to be able to make those changes regardless of the tracking that you're doing. And that's why I've created this playlist on the fitness fundamentals. It talks about everything that you need to know as a beginner, and it ignores everything that's honestly kind of bullshit that a lot of people talk about just for views. So if you're wanting to improve your knowledge so you know what to do so that you can make adjustments yourself without the advice of anyone else, then I definitely recommend checking that playlist out. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel.